In the beginning, there was nothing. And then, bang, AEL was born. Astro's Electronics Lab brings you entertaining, sometimes silly videos relating to electronics for your enjoyment. Follow along with his frustrations and antics and maybe learn something in the process.
Greetings, the Astro 30 here yet again with, well, a new intro. Don't know how successful that intro is going to be, but yeah. Sitting on the desk today, I've got a Silvertone Smart 3s or 3S guitar amplifier, and I bought it from the South Hobart Tip Shop, and the note on top says on-off switch always on when powered. And I've got a sneaking suspicion that it's not going to be a mechanical switch issue, but we'll soon find out. I paid $10 for it, so I thought, well, bugger it. Someone's name's on the back here. Anyway, here's the information here. It's a model Smart 3S. I'm going to assume it's a 3S. Power consumption is 26 watts, and primary fuse is 500 mA, 250 volt AC. No serial number, which is kind of odd, but alright. So that's a good look at the back here, and I'm probably going to start by plugging this into the dim bulb and just verify the problem. Right, it's connected to the dim bulb and the desk lamp is off, so well, we can see what's going on. Needs a good clean, but indeed the switch is off, but apparently doesn't seem to have any effect on what the power is doing. And the dim bulb's not glowing very brightly, so if at all, I can't even really see it. Whilst it's plugged in and turned on, I'll just grab a guitar lead and see if we've got any sort of output on this thing. Oh yeah. Alright. Well, we know that the amplifier is working, so what we need to do is find out why that switch is not working. So I want to pull the chassis out, which unscrews from the top, but unplug that. I'm going to remove this back panel to see if I can actually disconnect the speaker driver from the amplifier, or if I have to unsolder it, just so I can pull the chassis completely out of the cabinet. So I'm going to remove these 4 screws and lose them. And it looks like that washer's going to stay behind. So 2 stayed behind, 2 came off, so I've got to keep that in mind when putting it back together. There's a washer here already and a washer here. So this should pull off. And it is soldered. You absolute bastard. They couldn't afford a couple of crimps. Look at all these dead things in here. Cobwebs and stuff. But there's nothing on the speaker driver there to indicate what wattage it is, what impedance it is, or what brand it is. So anyway, I'll unsolder these 2 wires, and then I'll go about pulling the chassis out, but I'll just move these screws to the side so I don't lose them. Don't know, I really should clean all this dead crap out first. That might be kind of a good idea. I'm going to take this outside and brush it out. Alright, it's cleaned out, and hopefully I'm not going to get too much in the way of the camera here, but no, they're only just like sitting on top of the terminal. Right, that's the speaker disconnected. So I need to get the chassis out, so I'm going to remove this sticker. It's covering one of the screws, and we no longer need it because we know what's wrong with it. And I'll give the cabinet a good clean later. If I have to put a switch in it, I have to put a switch in it. So just remove these 4 screws. I don't know if I'm going to have to remove the handle, but I'll find out. Alright, and judging by the thickness of the front panel wood compared to the thickness of the rear panel wood, I'm assuming this will slide backwards. Maybe I do have to take the handle off. That wasn't very tight. That's because, okay. Alright. Now will it come out? No. That cable is not the greatest. I'll have to address that as well. There we go. All that front label is coming off the panel. Be careful of that, not to rip it. And there we go. Yeah, well, it's not what I thought. I thought there might have been a capacitor across the switch. But there doesn't appear to be, but... Oh yes, there is. That's the capacitor there. It's just a green cap capacitor. And I'm just wondering if that capacitor has gone short circuit. Because I don't think there's anything mechanically wrong with the switch itself. Usually a switch, when they fail, they sort of fail open. They don't fail short. I've never had one fail short. They just work or they don't. So, yeah, I don't like the fact they've just used a green cap there. What value have they put there? It is a 682, so 630 volts, 682, that's a 0.068 microfarad, I believe, or 6.8 nanofarad. Seems awfully high. So that's going to be interesting to try and get out, because they've got heat shrink across the switch and there's not much wire here to play with, etc. Apparently it's a 17017 transformer too, if anyone cared. So I don't think putting a continuum meter across the capacitor and the switch will prove anything, but I'm going to anyways. 0.8 of an ohm, 0.8 of an ohm. Yes, there's a short there. Okay, before I start messing with this crappy wiring, I'm just going to cut the capacitor out of circuit so that it's no longer connected. I can't measure across the switch now, but I can still measure across the capacitor. Yep, the capacitor is shorted. There you go, that's what the problem was. Now, let's verify that the thing turns on and off via the switch. Right, I've made sure the thing is off and that the speaker leads are not shorting. It's off, now it's on. There you go, shorted capacitor. Alright, well, I don't know if I really want to bother putting a capacitor there or not. So I'm going to go have a smoke and think about it. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is address this line cord. It's actually breached the insulation on the outside edge because there's insulation here. And the cord is still pretty long. The wires in here are short and they are switching the neutral, which is, well, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the cord straight off at the eyelet because I'm having trouble getting the clamp out. Let's see if I can push this remainder of the cord through. Maybe, maybe not. Try pulling it through with the pliers. There we go. I'll have to redo the earth connection. It's only a crimp solder lug. Okay, because I've got all this hot glue crap around it. makes it awfully difficult to get it out. I'll see if this circuit board cleaner has enough isopropyl alcohol in it to remove it. Because I do have, there we go, I do have a new one of those, but I don't really want to use it. Okay, so now I've got this clamp out, which is a bit masticated now. I might replace it. I can probably go about removing this heat shrink off the fuse holder so I can get the active wire off. So I can rewire the cord on. So I've got approximately, I don't know, about 1 metre and a bit of cord, which would come through here, a little bit more maybe, and that'll leave me about 1 metre. So okay, I'll get rid of this label. This was dropped off on Thursday by the looks of things, because it's got the 21st of the 3rd written on it. Okay, so I need to go about stripping this back to about here somewhere, and finding a new one of those clamps, and well, putting the cord back in. It also gives me an opportunity to get in here to this switch and remove the heat shrink on here, or even just remove the switch altogether, because there's enough wire on this transformer lead to do it, just so I can get the bloody heat shrink off to get the capacitor off. So yeah, I'll get about doing that. Well, taking the switch out is going to be a no bueno, so I'll just see if I can just slice the heat shrink open and get it off that way, preferably without stabbing myself with the bloody the knife. Alright, the mains lead is stripped back, and I've got a new one of these cable grip things, which is exactly the same thing. So I'm going to make sure that that actually fits through the hole, which it should do. Yes, perfect. Alright. So first, I'm probably going to deal with this mains lead crimp, which I've already removed. I've got the insulation or the heat shrink off of the switch and the active wire going into the fuse holder. So all I've got to do is just basically unsolder this. Alright, I've managed to open the crimp up a bit, so I just need to heat this up as the soldering iron warms up a bit more. There we go, and just pull it out. There we go. I'll just tin the wire. Now, is this really worth repairing? Probably not. Is it fun? Yes. Okay, that's tinned. So I get it through the eyelet. There we go. There we go. And I'll just crimp it back down. There. No one will ever know the difference. Now comes the fun task of putting it in through the clamp into the chassis. These are always a pain in the ass to do. They're a pain in the ass to get in, and they're a pain in the ass to get out. So I have to pre-squeeze that. I'll bring it back a bit to there. just to give it some that might actually just yeah, okay, that's a very loose hole. That's what he said to her. I'll probably put some hot glue around that, but that doesn't feel like there's much of a clamping force there. But anyway. Okay, so the shorter capacitor has been removed from the switch and the wiring's been removed from the switch, so I can put new heat shrink insulation on it. I have just got to remove this active wire back here off the fuse holder, so I'll do that now. The insulation's also being removed. Alright, so that wire is now useless. These wires are just long enough, so I'll go find some heat shrink and rewire this. I think that piece of heat shrink will do nicely. The autofocus on this camera is a bit strange. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, I think I'm only going to need about lengths like, you know, that long, about 15 centimetres or so. I'm going to need 3. It's just probably too thick for that one, so I'll have to get another piece of heat shrink for that. See what's in my magic box of heat shrink. A slightly smaller one, which will do the job just nicely. So we'll use a piece of that, about that long. Alright, let's get to the fun part, which is rewiring this damn thing. So I might start with the active wire going, well, the neutral wire in this case going to the transformer, which, well, actually goes on top there. They bring it out the centre for whatever reason. So I might just start with the neutral wire going into it. Might be a good idea when I can find my knife. This is really awkward to do on camera. I do need to get myself some wire strippers. There we go. So I'll pre-tin him when I can find what I did with the solder. It's probably right in front of me. There it is. I've got to wait for that one. Oh, it just turned off, that's alright. Okay. Piece of heat shrink. That goes to the fuse holder so I can go up there out the way. So I'm going to have to try Alright, that's one wire. I'll do this wire. Decided to leave the capacitor off. I don't think it's going to cause that great big of a deal. I mean, yeah, it might be pops and clicks in the output when you turn it on and off, but yeah, it's not really that great of a problem. Right, so now I have to heat shrink that, or shrink it. I might be able to get a lighter up in there. I'm certainly going to try anyway. As long as it shrinks down enough not to come back off. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Right, now to do the active wire. I hope you guys are enjoying this video. So I don't need that length of wire, it needs to be about that long. So I'm cutting off about there. And I will strip him back. I have no idea where that went. Yes, I do. I'll tin that one. And put the heat shrink on before I forget to do it. Okay, that's on there. Now I've got to get the heat shrink round over it. Like so. Now I'm probably going to use the butt of the soldering iron for this, because I don't think I'm going to be very successful getting the lighter in the senior moment. Just going to gently do it. I don't want to melt through things if I can avoid it. I think that's heat shrink. If that was a word and a term, well, it is now. I can't get in very easily to where it goes to the fuse holder. But I'm going to say, for sake of argument here, I have melted the fuse holder slightly on the edge, but that's alright. That's all soldered in, so now I can screw my earth point back in. Alright, and now I need to verify that it all still works, and then I'll cable tie things back together, and yeah. Alright, there's still plenty of length of lead there, so the switch is off. Dim bulb on. Yep, it still works. Beauty. Alright, so the next thing to do would be to hot glue around this cable grip thing and re-tidy up the wiring in here with some cable ties, and I might put some crimp terminals on the ends of these speaker leads here. Okay, so I'll put one cable tie around all this lot. Do it a bit neater than the Chinese did. And one round this lot near the switch. Am I worried that the capacitor is not in there anymore? No, it's one less failure point. As I said, all it's really used for is to suppress any arcs that may go across the contacts of the switch when it turns on and off. However, considering that the inrush of this is next to it non-existent, you don't even see a flash on the bulb, it's not drawing that much current when you first power it up. So the likelihood of it arcing when you turn it off is, yeah, pretty next to nothing. So what I'd do first is, before I mess around with the output leads, is I might put it on an oscilloscope and a dummy load and just actually see what power this produces. Alright, so I got everything set up. Today I'm using the portable oscillator. Got a plug in the socket to lift the tip end of the plug off of its plate in the socket, just in case that side is grounded, and the lead's just attached to the other side. The ground of the oscillator is connected to the chassis. Output is connected to the dummy load, so I assume this is safe to plug directly into the wall because I've removed the dim bulb now. So I'll plug the amplifier unit in, turn it on. Yeah, we have an output, albeit the thing is a bit distorted, and well, we're not getting oh, that's the level control there. Right, okay. yeah, that's as much as I'm getting out of it. That's interesting. There we go. Yeah, it's clipping with hardly any input level. That's interesting. Okay, so before it starts to clip, we're getting about 8.58 volt RMS out into 8 ohms, roughly 9 watts RMS. It's not a lot, but then that with electric guitar would be pretty loud with a small speaker. So let me try that into 4 ohms now. Reconfigured into 4, let's turn it on. It's clipping a little bit earlier now. We've got 5.56 volt RMS, 7 watts. That's even more pathetic. That's less than what I'm getting into 8. Because you would think you would get more into an 4 ohm load than you would into an 8, but apparently not in this case. And that heatsink is getting quite hot, so for all practical purposes you probably wouldn't want to have any more than that power anyway. So it's not really exciting, but at least we know it works. So what I'm going to do, I did notice that this controller is missing its insert cap, so I'll put those back in the center. Is I'm going to see if the 6.3mm crimps fit on the speaker terminals correctly, and put some crimp wires on it so it's easier to fix in the future if it ever has to come apart. Scratch that, they're too big, I need the 4mm ones. So we'll just put some hot snot around this to stop it from moving, and in the middle of it so the cable doesn't move backwards and forwards. It's probably a bit too much, but it'll do. So that's fine. I'll just resolder the leads back onto the speaker. So I can put this back in now. I did not need to take out the handle. So now I've got to try and get this to go back in this hole. There we go. And I can put some of the machine screws back in. So I'm just going to screw the chassis in, solder the speaker back up, and give it a good clean, put the handle back on, and test it out. It should work a lot better than when it first came in. What am I going to do with it? Don't know. That doesn't feel like it's actually going into a hole. That's what she said. I'll come back to that one. I want to be pushed in a bit. There it is. Because yeah, every time I put my fingers all over, I get all this crap on them. Alright, the chassis screwed back in. Yeah, I think it's time for a clean. I'm just going to use some Windex and an old tea towel, but I'll get all the dust that's stuck to the grill off with the dry tea towel first, before putting Windex all over it. And then I'll screw the handle back on. It's got some weird stuff stuck all over it, I don't know what it is. It's like brown spots, looks like it's been in the shed near paint, where someone's been painting. The vinyl is starting to give way now, becoming all brittle. So this amplifier's been around a bit. if I was to resell this, I probably wouldn't get any more than 20 bucks for it, so it's not really worth the effort. I mean, cash converters would probably only give me about 20 bucks for it anyway. Private, I might be able to put it up to 30, but because cosmetically it looks a little bit, you know, how you're doing. And well, that knob is missing an insert, makes it kind of look a little bit, you know, not the best, but it certainly works. I mean, and because it's not a very high powered amplifier either. This is more of a practice amplifier than anything else. But Windex, it's shit on glass, but works wonders on vinyl. It almost looks like I bought one. I should probably take the speaker grill out to actually clean this properly. That's if I can actually get the speaker grill out. Yeah, it does look like it unscrews. You know, I might actually just do that. I'll unscrew the speaker. Well, the actual grill on the front here. They've driven the screws in at an angle, so this should come out backwards. I probably won't have enough room to take it out all the way with the chassis in, but at least it's up out of the way so I can, you know, clean the bottom edge properly. This is made by Samick, by the way, just in case anyone was wondering. The title will say what it is exactly, but it's made by the Samick Electronics Corporation. So that is looking a damn sight better than what it did. So, but most of the guitar players out there would know that Silvertone is Samick. So I'll just pop this speaker back in its home position. I'll put the screws in a minute, but I'll clean this handle up and screw that back on, because yeah, that's kind of filthy as well. It's easy to clean it when the handle is actually outside of its clamp. Okay, so this is about there somewhere. I can't really see what I'm doing, but that's fine. So it looks like they've glued two nuts on the inside of the cabinet, so this did not actually have to come off. So that was a complete and utter waste of time, but I was thinking it may have been the same as that PV amplifier, where in order to get the chassis out you have to unscrew the handle. But that's not the case with this one. That could have stayed where it was. Don't want to tighten it too much because I don't know if that's actually a captive nut with a thread bushing going into the wood to grip it, or if it's just glued there. Alright, so that's in. All I have to do is screw the speaker back in and screw the back on, and then we'll give it a burl. Alright, got my bass guitar plugged into it, turn on. Alright. Certainly speaks alright. It's not very loud though. Okay, cool. So what I should... Well, it seems to work okay with a bass. It's not distorting. It's the wrong type of speaker for it, but let's play with the tone controls here. Appears to do something. Looks like it's an active back sandal circuit, so it's not wired like a lot of head stacks are when they're both controls, or all three. If it had a mid-range, was down to 0, you'd have no output. Okay, let's see what that does. Sorry again. So overdrive works. Cool. Well, I'm not going to worry too much with the sound test, but we know that it works, and yeah, there is a slight pop there when you turn it off, but that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to close this one out with saying thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to go down there below and comment, like and subscribe, and share the video on social media would be great too. It wasn't really that much of an interesting repair, it's just a shorter capacitor across the switch. But there are other things in there that needed to be addressed, like, well, the mains lead. And I needed to clean it up. So I'll hang on to this amplifier for a while and don't know what I'm going to do with it. But anyway, this is the Astro 3 saying see ya, have a great day.